fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that. And although the polling, as I said, Biden's polling was different, the fact of the matter is my polling was about, we're always within range of beating this guy.
Yeah.
And, what I did was, I think there were, it makes sense. There were some folks who would like to see me step aside so they have a chance to move on.
I'm Vince for RTM News. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So yesterday, Kamala Harris went out and gave this big speech about her economic plan. And why is that? Because nobody to date exactly knows what Kamala Harris's economic plan really is.
Who is it? Who's better for the economy?
I don't know yet because I don't have any details from Harris. She has been all sugar, no protein. That's it. And it's become a really big sticking point with investors. We've got to remember we have the largest economy on earth. Over 85% of our jobs are created by the private sector. Business investors like me and leaders have to deal with who's ever in the White House in January. So whoever ends up on the 6th of November as the new mandate, we'll have to deal with them. So we need data. We need policy. And I'm getting a little critical now because I don't have any. So I need answers around taxation. For example, if you tell me that taxes are going to be 28% plus state taxes on corporations' headquarters, I'll have to worry that they move to Ireland again.
Well, if you're looking for answers and specifics on any of Kamala Harris's policies, good luck, because we know you're not exactly getting those anytime soon. But why is Kamala doing this? Why is Kamala laying out her own economic plan when she's obviously been in power for the past 4 years? Well, it is because she is trying to distance herself away from Joe Biden as much as possible. Her inside consultants know the truth. Biden is not popular, his economy is not popular, and even if it's just vague platitudes, even if her own stances are not clearly defined, their central hope is by just saying something, they can get as much distance away from Joe Biden as possible. And that whole idea may have worked. It might have panned out if not for the pesky fact that yesterday at that same exact time, Joe Biden went on The View and accidentally said something out loud I don't exactly think they wanted him to say.
And as vice president, there wasn't a single thing that I did that she couldn't do. And so I was able to delegate her responsibility on everything from foreign policy to domestic policy.
You know, watching a soundbite like that really begs the question why they even let Joe Biden go on TV or do any televised appearances at all at this point, because every time he opens his mouth, he is causing problems for Kamala Harris. And hey, maybe that's secretly intentional. You know, Joe Biden is a little bit scorned. He knows exactly what he's doing. But I think the more likely scenario is he just runs his mouth way too much, and the Democrats cannot possibly be happy about that, because that's a pretty shocking admission. According to Joe Biden, in his own words, Kamala Harris is far from the type of VP that just sat by and did nothing for 4 years. Again, he basically admits that Kamala was running the country for him. Kamala was delegated key responsibilities on both foreign and domestic issues, and considering that Biden's administration and its record is not exactly popular on those fronts, that is not the type of thing that the Kamala campaign wants Joe Biden to be saying out loud, especially when your candidate at the current moment is frantically trying to prove to the whole world that you are nothing like Joe Biden and you have nothing to do with him.
Wonder if there are one or two spots, policy areas or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person.
Well, I'm obviously not Joe Biden. And, you know, I offer a new generation of leadership. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy where...
Really? Because according to the words of Joe Biden himself, you've been running the country the past 4 years. So, you know, again, I just don't know why they let Biden run his mouth. And that question for me really continued throughout much of this appearance on The View, because now take a listen as the more conservative leaning, you know, the token conservative host on The View tries to ask Joe Biden pretty directly, did you get cooed out of office by Nancy Pelosi? What exactly happened? And the entire room starts to get very uncomfortable.
We all agree at this table it's very selfless of you to pass the baton and step aside. There was a perception that perhaps your hand was forced, and some pointed fingers to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who you have a long relationship with and accomplished many things with. Did you feel that your hand was forced, and what is your relationship with Speaker Pelosi now?
My relationship is fine. Look, I never fully.
He knows, okay? Everyone knows, all right? Again, I don't know. If I were the Democrats, I don't know. I would do everything I can. Bribe him if you have to, but keep this guy away from the cameras because he's going to say something. He's going to do something to screw up, right? Whether it's intentionally or unintentionally saying that about Kamala running the country. Him struggling to answer this question, and you'll see what he says here in a second, or joking around, or maybe not, I don't know, putting on the Trump hat at the 9/11 memorial for the firefighters. He just continues to do things, even now that he's not a candidate, still creating liabilities for their presidential candidate, and it's kind of amusing to watch. But let's hear what Joe Biden has to say here.
Fully believed the assertions that somehow there was this overwhelming reluctance of my running again. I didn't sense that. And although the polling, as I said, Biden's polling was different, the fact of the matter is my polling was about, we're always within range of beating this guy.
Yeah.
And, what I did was, I think there were, it makes sense. There were some folks who would like to see me step aside so they have a chance to move on. I get that. That's just human nature. But that wasn't the reason that I stepped down.
Well, what was it then, Joe? What was it? Because you said yourself, you wanted to keep running. You thought you were going to be able to win, but you point out, hey, some folks, aka Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama, etc., thought you couldn't win, and you mysteriously left the race. So it's as pretty clear of an admission as you could get without him openly saying that he was cooed out of office. But let's listen to the rest of his response here.
Down because I started thinking about it. It's hard to think of, I know you're only 30, but it's hard to think of, it's hard for me to even say how old I am. No, I'm serious. I don't know.
Why is that?
I give my word. It's like, holy God, that can't be right. that just can't be right.
I'm your age, by the way. The number gives me vertigo. No. Yes, it does. I am. I'm your age.
No woman close to me is as old as I am. None.
I'm telling you, sir.
Right now they are.
And Mr. President, do you think had you stayed in the race, would you have won?
Yes.
Yeah.
Then why didn't you stay in the race? Why didn't you stay in the race? Because he's too old. Okay, I mean, everyone has thought that for the whole time now, essentially. But until 2 seconds before, he was not too old. All of a sudden, he is. He just, on that random Sunday where he dropped out, you really mean to tell us he had that epiphany where he's just suddenly realized, gee, I'm a little too old for this. No, nobody believes that. That's not what happened at all. Okay, he was forced out of the race. We know this. Now listen, as Whoopi Goldberg essentially admits that he was forced out of the race. Very interesting, of all people.
I was confident I would beat Trump.
Listen, I
He's a
didn't like
loser.
the way they did it. I'm going to just say it out loud because nobody says it out loud. I didn't like the way it was done publicly. I thought they could have done this in a different way because we didn't need to hear all the inner fighting. I didn't like it. I'm saying it to you. You were my ride or die. I was going wherever you were going, that's what I would do. So I just wanted to say that because I always felt you were going to probably do 4 years and then try to figure out where to go with Kamala. Then he just wouldn't.
Wait. What do you mean you don't like the way they did it? Did what? I thought Joe Biden just woke up one day and decided to step out of the race voluntarily, as they've been saying a million times, and even other hosts like Sunny Hostin tried to argue on this very episode of The View.
See, but I truly believe that his legacy will be etched in the history books as Washington, as someone who put that ego aside and put his country
he
first.
also so decent.
That's definitely his legacy.
So on one hand, they said that Joe Biden just dropped out because he put his ego aside, the country first. He did it voluntarily. It was a courageous act. And then on the other side, Whoopi Goldberg is hinting at, yeah, you were forced out of the race. I don't know. Regardless, whatever you think about it, and I'm sure one day we will find out the full truth as to why Joe Biden really left the presidential race. The central point here is this, okay? Even the discussion of this, even the implication of this, it's not going to make a huge difference on the election, sure, but it's not really a good look for Kamala Harris, right? Because she's been trying to establish this entire time that she is a legitimately installed candidate. And here is Joe Biden in The View kind of hinting at, yeah, not really, right? And then perhaps even worse, on the front of policy, Joe Biden's out there saying, yeah, she ran the whole country when I was in charge. I was delegating all the responsibilities to her. So again, whether you think it's Biden just being careless and not really even thinking at all, or it's a little bit of intentional sabotage because he's really pissed off, doesn't really matter. The point, the end conclusion, ultimately here is the same. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. And until next time, I've been Vince with RTM News. Peace.